Well, several heads of state are arriving in South Africa for the BRICS Summit, and the Indian Prime Minister and Russia's Foreign Minister are among those expected to touch down at Waterkloof Air Force Base this morning. Well, senior reporter Siphamandla Goge is monitoring the arrivals for us in Pretoria this morning. Siphamandla, if I'm not mistaken, I know that Sergei Lavrov of Russia has arrived this morning already, but maybe what's the latest you can tell us there?
Indeed, the delegation from the Russian Federation has touched down in South Africa. They arrived through, or they entered the country through the Waterkloof Air Force Base. This is where we expect that the Indian delegation, also led by their Prime Minister, will be arriving. Joe Komane will show you the aircraft belonging to the Russian Federation delegation. It touched down. It's just been cleared now. Of course, it's just been blocked by another aircraft. But behind that grey aircraft that you see is the aircraft that was used by the Russian Federation delegation, led by their Minister of Foreign Affairs, in the absence of their President, Mr. Vladimir Putin, who couldn't attend physically this BRICS Summit because of that technicality about the outstanding warrant of arrest that was issued by the International Criminal Court of Justice. So therefore he will be participating virtually. He will be allocated a slot in addressing delegates, heads of states, together with other heads of state who are members of BRICS. So the Russian Federation delegation has touched down in South Africa as we speak. Joe will try and show you behind us here. Their cargo is being cleared here by the customs unit, and they are ready to take off now. Of course, the leaders of the delegation have already left here, but customs has been busy clearing their cargo here, what they would have brought to South Africa. So they are busy clearing that at the moment. It takes a while because customs will need to process each and every item that comes through here. It will need to be declared, it will need to be processed and registered. It's just a formality, compliance, but also to ensure that everything that arrives in this country is properly registered and cleared. You can see the markings here. This is cargo that came with the Russian delegation. It's being taken out of the airport now. The car that is accompanying it, of course, is a car that belongs to the diplomats here, ensuring that everything that is being escorted out belongs to the Russian Federation delegation. But it's interesting that, their leader of delegation has touched down in the country following that announcement by President Cyril Ramaphosa that President Putin was no longer going to attend this summit. So therefore it was expected that the foreign minister of the Russian Federation was going to lead the delegation that would touch down here at Waterkloof Air Force Base. It's a very busy period for South African airports here. OR Tambo is extremely busy. Lanseria Airport is extremely busy. We expect the arrival of the Indian delegation around midday today, or should I say around 1 o'clock, between 1 o'clock and 1:30 or 25 to 2. The expectation is that the Indian delegation, led by their Prime Minister, will touch down, and that will mark the end of the arrival of members of BRICS. If you take into account that the President of Brazil touched down yesterday, the President of China arrived just before midnight. He was, of course, received by the President of the Republic, Mr. Cyril Ramaphosa. The Russian Federation is here. Indian delegation will be arriving, but that does not mean that would be the end of the arrivals here. There are other key countries that have been invited for this summit. Where I'm standing at Waterkloof Air Force Base, we expect that the President of Tanzania and Cuba will be arriving this evening. Now, that's very significant if you take into account historical ties between Cuba and South Africa, as well as Tanzania and South Africa. Recently, the President of Tanzania was in the country for the official state visit. South Africa and Tanzania have got strong historical ties and trade relations between the two countries. So a number of delegations are still to arrive in the country, because technically the summit will get underway tomorrow. But yes, this evening around, or rather in the afternoon, 4 o'clock, the Minister Ibrahim Patel will be delivering the keynote address, and then there will be activities that will be taking place in terms of the agenda and the program. But the summit is expected to get into full swing tomorrow morning. So we expect that a number of presidents are yet to arrive in the country, but most of them are already here.
And also very interesting to mention that the ties are between Tanzania and South Africa are very important, but also, you know, Tanzania and Russia also having very close ties, those two countries as well, Siphamandla. Of course, we know that the Minister of Foreign Affairs from Russia, he, like you mentioned, Sergei Lavrov, he did arrive this morning, but that doesn't mean, I think a lot of people should not mistake the fact that President Vladimir Putin will be in attendance at BRICS. It's not that he's not completely missing in action. He will be there virtually, and he is expected to also deliver a speech with all the other leaders this afternoon, if I'm not mistaken.
Indeed, that's correct. All the leaders will be allocated their 10-minute slots. That's where they will make their opening remarks. So he will deliver his message. He will be participating at this summit. The only difference is that he's not physically in South Africa, but he will be participating virtually. That was the deal that was agreed upon. There is no way that he would have not participated. If you take into account what technology enables us to do these days, there is really no need for one to be physically present where he or she will be speaking. So what is happening is that he will be delivering his message virtually. He will be allocated his slots, and I think, if my memory serves me well, based on the program that I saw, I think also during the closing of the summit, all heads of state from BRICS member states will be allocated their 10 minutes to respond to what would have been discussed before the summit is closed. So we expect him to participate at least twice during the process of this summit. Yes, physically, the foreign minister from the Russian Federation will be in South Africa leading the delegation, but their president in Russia will be making his input as well.
Thank you so much. eNCA senior reporter Siphamandla Goge at the Waterkloof Air Force Base. Of course, the arrivals, Siphamandla, just, you know, keeping a close watch on who is arriving. The heads of state, of course, arriving today. Some heads of state already in the country. And I think the only one we're still expecting is the Prime Minister of India to arrive later this afternoon, around 1 p.m., Siphamandla said. Of course, the official BRICS Summit kick-starting today at around 4 p.m. Right now, it's the BRICS Business Forum taking place in the Sandton Convention Centre.